Imagine a moment when a person steps into a room, and even before they lower their gaze or take a seat, the very space around them undergoes subtle yet profound changes. No one present turns to look directly, no one offers a greeting, no one even calls the newcomer by name. And yet, something imperceptible but palpable shifts in the atmosphere. The general conversation falls silent, giving way to an almost tangible quiet. The air seems to thicken, filled with an inexplicable heaviness. Those present unconsciously begin to alter their postures. Some appear slightly awkward, while others simply gaze silently, intently, into the distance. This mysterious phenomenon is not a figment of imagination or a trick of the mind. It is the manifestation of their aura, an invisible yet powerful energy that precedes their physical arrival. It announces itself even before their feet touch the floor, conveying its message before their lips have a chance to part. This silent, undeniable declaration rings out. I am not here to blend in with the crowd. I am here to be seen, to be felt, for my presence to leave a mark. The great thinker and psychoanalyst Carl Jung once proclaimed a profound truth: the psyche transcends the body. This wise statement carries a fundamental understanding that human existence is not limited to a physical shell of flesh and bone. Every individual is, in essence, a complex and unique vibration, an intangible presence, an inexhaustible source of energy. And when this inner energy reaches its highest purity, acquires incomparable power, and is in perfect harmony, a person does not merely enter a space. They do not simply take a seat among others. No, their appearance becomes a true event. They disrupt the usual flow of things, stir stagnant energies, and awaken hidden potentials. They become that exceptional individual whose silent yet undeniable influence can expose those who wear masks of falsehood and simultaneously inspire authentic, genuine people to dare to reveal themselves and rise to new heights. This is not about intrusive self-display, nor is it about aggression. The essence lies in absolute authenticity, capable of making everything false around it crumble to dust. Within this narrative, 13 signs will be revealed, irrefutably proving the exceptional nature of a certain person's energy. It is truly electric, possesses a disruptive force, and carries something divine. Therefore, if anyone has ever felt out of place, noticing how others react to them without understanding the true reasons, then this message is addressed precisely to such a person. Perhaps their calling is not to simply fit into existing frameworks, but to actively transform them. Let us proceed with the examination. Chapter 1. Their presence speaks loudly, even in complete silence. Have you ever noticed how, upon entering a room, the atmosphere perceptibly transforms? No one uttered a word, there were no formal introductions, and yet all eyes involuntarily turned toward this person. The reason was not their clothing or their status, but something deeper, unspoken. This is what true presence is. Such a person does not need to speak, does not need to explain themselves. For when their energy is in harmony, their silence is more convincing than any noise. Others sense their existence before they hear their voice. They perceive something different, something authentic, and this is the very presence that needs no external validation to exist. People may not even know their name, but they will certainly remember the feelings their presence evoked, be it a sense of power, calm, curiosity, or at times even a threat. Because when a person enters a space, being their authentic self, they inevitably disrupt the usual norm. And people, as is known, do not forget those who make them feel something deeply. The reason for this phenomenon lies in the astonishing dynamics of human perception. An individual's psyche permeates the surrounding space long before their physical appearance. Their aura, invisible yet powerful, enters with undeniable authority, requiring no formal permission. It seems to audaciously whisper something profound. I am not here merely to play a role or perform on a stage. My true purpose is to be authentic. Such unvarnished truth possesses an astonishing magnetic pull. It is extremely rare, and in a world overflowing with worn masks and learned social roles, its manifestation becomes truly unforgettable. This thought should be deeply internalized. True presence is not defined by the loudness of one's voice or ostentatious behavior. It is rooted in a state of inner harmony and balance. This is achieved through a deep mastery of one's own energy, where even a person's silence becomes a crystal-clear mirror, flawlessly reflecting the truth of their essence, unwavering confidence, and absolute authenticity. It is in this that lies the extraordinary strength that makes a person resilient and unyielding in the face of any challenges. Chapter 2. Awakening. Hidden shadows in the minds of others. Have you ever wondered why some individuals express genuine admiration for a person, while others feel distinct unease or discomfort in their presence, often without a single word being spoken? Why do some gravitate towards them with genuine curiosity, while others demonstratively distance themselves, expressing judgment or even hidden hostility? The truth, which may seem quite unexpected, is this. The person commits no misdeeds or errors. They simply remain themselves, true and unadulterated. And in today's world, where conventions prevail, authenticity becomes a true revolution, capable of changing established orders. When a person enters a room, carrying purity of intention and sincerity of their inner world, they do not need to utter a single word to make an indelible impression. Their mere presence becomes a kind of mirror. This mirror, in turn, silently reflects those aspects that other people have carefully evaded within their own depths. For many, such a revelation turns into a true shock, for their sincerity possesses a disarming power, and their unwavering confidence causes deep unease. Their unbridled, utterly uncompromising energy poses a direct threat to the masks that others have so meticulously crafted and worn for many years. In their demeanor, they involuntarily discern what was once long suppressed and stifled within themselves. They feel in their presence precisely what they so diligently tried to hide, their own hidden shadow. And it is at the very moment when their inner light touches this shadow that a feeling of deep discomfort inevitably arises. Such a person does not seek to provoke anyone, nor do they seek open confrontation. However, their energy is too honest, too awakened, too pure in its essence. And in a modern world which has fallen captive to countless filters and artificial facades, such sincerity transforms into a silent yet powerful threat. Every person, without exception, carries their own shadow. As the eminent psychologist Carl Jung once aptly remarked, it is the part of ourselves that we reject, suppress, and bury deep. But here's the key point. Such a person, without even realizing it, brings this hidden shadow to the surface into plain sight. This happens not through coercion or judgment, but merely by existing, by embodying their full, uncompromising, and authentic self. This person expresses their thoughts with deep conviction, not out of a desire to outdo anyone, but because of the painstaking work of self-healing they have undertaken. They move through life with a clear purpose, not seeking to intimidate others, but because in every step they have found true meaning. When those who have not yet undertaken such inner work approach such an individual, they inevitably feel a sharp difference, a certain emotional dissonance. Their own insecurity is suddenly stripped of its hiding place. It is at this moment that so-called projections begin. Others may declare that this person is too intense, excessively strong, overly confident, or too direct. However, in reality, their words mean only one thing. I am not ready to face my own shadow. And the presence of a healed individual makes this avoidance simply impossible. However, despite external reactions, such a person should not diminish their own significance or dim their inner light. They bear no responsibility for the discomfort that other people may experience. Their choice was not to deliberately awaken others' old wounds. They merely chose to heal their own. And this deep inner healing naturally reveals those aspects where others still remain vulnerable or unhealed. This is not their burden. On the contrary, it is for them a stimulus, an invitation to personal growth and transformation. Let them observe. Let them whisper behind their back. Let them be mistaken in their judgments. For such a person was not born to please everyone and be agreeable to all without exception. They came into being to be truly powerful, endowed with inner strength. And in this life their main task is not to shield others from encountering their own shadows. Their mission is to steadily continue radiating their light, so that ultimately others realize looking within oneself is completely safe. The presence of such an individual is itself a powerful call to awakening, and only those who are ready for this awakening will be able to grasp the true language of their existence. Chapter 3. Animals, children, and nature are drawn to them. Have you ever considered how the world around you reacts to your presence when no one is observing? A stray cat might curl up at your feet, seeking warmth. An unfamiliar child might easily and naturally smile at you without fear. Even the wind seems to envelop you more gently when you walk alone. Such manifestations are not coincidental, they are nothing less than a display of energy. Unlike people, who tend to judge by appearance, evaluate by achievements or rank, animals, children, and nature itself do not succumb to the illusions of the external world. They do not analyze the words a person speaks. Instead, they perceive their inner vibration. They subtly sense how pure, or conversely, how polluted their energetic essence is. They feel whether their presence is safe and calming, or if it carries chaos and anxiety. And when a person's aura is true, firmly grounded, and radiates peace, these beings respond with complete trust, a sense of peace, and a deep connection. Animals do not require lengthy explanations. They intuitively understand when someone's heart is filled with kindness. Children do not need accolades or titles. They simply feel when someone's presence feels warm and inviting. Nature does not need showmanship or playing to an audience. It simply aligns with those who carry tranquility and serenity in their soul. And this applies to a person whose aura is not loud. It does not demand attention, does not scream about itself. It does not pretend to be happy or try to portray perfection. It simply exists in its authentic truth. And truth, even in its most silent and quiet form, becomes the most powerful language on earth. Modern existence is undoubtedly filled with a cacophony of sounds, illusory displays of joy, feigned cheerfulness, and an endless, exhausting spectacle. However, when someone enters this space, radiating an unperturbed and sincere energy, they inevitably become an oasis of tranquility in a world yearning for peace. This is why fauna seek to approach, why children feel protected, and why the crowns of trees seem to freeze in a silent whisper when such a person is near. This happens because they do not seek to control, demonstrate superiority, or suppress. Such an individual simply remains in their natural state, not striving for external attributes or recognition, and in their very existence a genuine, unbreakable harmony manifests. In a world where overstimulation prevails, such an individual becomes the embodiment of peace. In a society consumed by a dependence on the superficial, they represent authenticity. In an energetic space abundant with disorder, they are a source of harmony. The natural environment responds to this. It bows before this truth, for truth requires no loud declarations. It is enough for it to be felt, without the need for intrusive proof. Therefore, one should never underestimate the silent affirmation from the surrounding world. Sometimes, how a dog relaxes in such a person's presence, or how a child reaches for their hand, reveals far more about their inner essence than any enthusiastic shouts from a crowd. They feel a deep connection with all that exists. They are firmly rooted in reality, never losing touch with the earth. They are authentic in every manifestation, and the world, especially its unblemished and purest parts, undoubtedly senses this authenticity. Chapter 4. They have an unintentional yet palpable impact without seeking it. Their arrival in any space does not aim to prove anything. Their demeanor lacks ostentatious loudness, and they do not seek external approval or recognition. This person carries themselves with a calm gaze, steady breath, and radiates an unwavering presence. However, suddenly the general atmosphere undergoes a change. Those around them instinctively straighten their shoulders, their laughter becomes overly deliberate, and their speech excessively verbose. Deep inside they feel a growing unease, even though the individual has not uttered a word. A logical question arises: what is the reason for such an unexpected reaction? The answer lies in the following. In a world where outward loudness and demonstrativeness are valued, their quiet stillness suddenly takes on the status of a powerful manifestation of inner strength. In a society dominated by an obsession with external attributes and appearances, their genuine authenticity is perceived as a kind of threat. This person does not seek to intimidate or create a fearsome impression. They do not puff out their chest in ostentatious bravado and do not pretend to be fearless, but neither do they hide or retreat into the shadows. It is precisely this unconditional openness and absence of pretense that can shake those around them to their very core. It should be noted, when an individual has not achieved inner reconciliation with their own essence, the presence of such an authentic person inadvertently exposes them. This happens not through force or condemnation, but merely because the individual remains themselves in a space where many hide behind masks. This is why others begin to erect invisible barriers, and this is why their laughter sounds so unnatural and false. Deep down they realize that this person can see right through them, penetrating beyond the outer shell. Their inner stillness silently proclaims, "I have done the necessary inner work," and their non-verbal energy quietly whispers, "I know who I truly am." For those who have not yet embarked on their own healing journey, such a presence is perceived as a burden, creating a sense of oppressive influence. It feels like a kind of exposure, bringing what is hidden to light. It is a silent rebellion, passing through their established perceptions of the world, disrupting the usual order. This is why they experience inner unease. They are forced to put on smiles. They try to drown out the silence with a flood of words or restless actions, because they are unable to accept what the other person's very existence reveals within their own soul. However, listen carefully. This person is not an antagonist in their story. They serve as a reflection, an impartial mirror in which everything that others have carefully hidden, avoided or feared is revealed. And although such a revelation can instill apprehension in them, it also encourages them toward inner growth and development. They do not need to transform. There is no need to dull their own truth or diminish their inner radiance, for their being is not an aggressive attack. It is rather a standard, a measure. And only those who are internally ready for self-improvement will be able to truly grasp their essence. Therefore, continue on your path, maintaining inner peace. Remain authentic without changing your true nature. People capable of genuine understanding will perceive their serenity not as a source of danger, but as a reliable guide, showing them the way to their own inner self. The storm is not raging outside, it is what their presence awakens within. Chapter 5. They change the energy of the entire room. Most of the time a person doesn't even realize it. They simply exist in their natural state, calm, internally stable, fully present. However, in that moment something subtle but absolutely undeniable unfolds. The moment they cross the threshold of a room, the atmosphere perceptibly shifts. Conversations quiet down, body positions change, the overall energy of the space adjusts without a single word from them. The person themselves remains bewildered, observing how those around them suddenly fall silent, fix their gaze on them, or even begin to stumble over their words. The truth is this: it's not their physical body that entered the space, it's their unique frequency that manifested. This isn't about power based on suppression or dominance, nor about charisma achieved through intrusive charm. It's the manifestation of their vibrational presence. The essence isn't in their actions, but in their very being, in who they are, a living field of truth, a moving embodiment of harmony. They don't need the spotlight, nor do they seek universal approval, for their aura speaks long before they utter a word. And the world listens, even if it doesn't consciously understand the true reasons for this attention. They carry something fundamental, something ancient, that transcends temporal limitations. Their energy holds symbols, archetypes, invisible codes that are echoes of long-forgotten ancestral lines. And although those around them cannot explain this phenomenon, they feel it deeply to their very bones. This presence awakens something profound within them, something primordial, ancestral, something highly spiritual, as if a long-dormant memory of true power, higher purpose, or even deep pain has suddenly come alive, and they remain completely unaware of what precisely has affected them so strongly. A person enters a space like a gentle breeze, yet transforms it like a powerful storm. Their impact is not noisy or aggressive, but it remains absolutely undeniable. This phenomenon is not magic, but a manifestation of deep harmony. When a person's soul is firmly rooted in unshakable truth, their presence naturally causes a realignment of everything that does not conform to that truth. Others feel seen and understood in a way they may not have been prepared for. Their reaction can range from a sense of security to a feeling of complete exposure. They may be drawn to such a person or, conversely, shaken to their very core. Such an individual is not just a person. They act as a mirror, a portal, and a living reminder. For energy never lies, it always, without exception, reacts to the very essence of who that person is. Therefore, if anyone has ever noticed that others treat them differently, observe them intently, or react strangely to their appearance, it's important to realize this person did not disturb the peace in the room. They merely unveiled what already existed there, hidden from plain sight. They change frequencies, awaken dormant truths, and bring the invisible to the surface. And this is not an action they perform, it is their true nature. Chapter 6. They read others without a single word. When such an individual enters a room, something intangible immediately strikes them. They can't explain it. No one has said a word, everyone is smiling, and outwardly everything appears perfectly normal. However, deep inside they know exactly that something is off. There's tension in the air, and a false harmony hides behind the apparent laughter. Someone's energy simply doesn't match their spoken words. This perception should not be considered paranoia. It is not the result of dramatization or overthinking. On the contrary, it speaks to a deep awareness inherent in the person. They do not need verbal explanations from others, for they have already grasped what others are afraid to express aloud. This manifests in a subtle unease in someone's posture, in a fleeting flash of insecurity hidden behind a seemingly sincere compliment, or in a sudden shift in voice tone. They perceive all these subtle signals with astonishing ease. The famous psychologist Carl Jung referred to this phenomenon as symbolic perception. It's a special kind of deep intuitive intelligence, capable of sensing energetic flows even before verbal speech is perceived. One could compare it to mastering an invisible language formed from the subtlest body gestures, barely perceptible micro-expressions, and elusive emotional frequencies. And once a person tunes into this unique language, they are no longer able to unhear it, meaning to ignore or forget it. Such an ability is neither a supernatural power, nor a mystical gift, nor a mere coincidence. It is rather a natural consequence of the deep inner work a person undertakes on themselves. When their inner aura becomes pure and harmonious, their perception of the world inevitably sharpens. They begin to sense the emotional weather of those around them, not through their spoken words, but through the subtle vibrations that their authentic soul emanates. Thus they can feel hidden sorrow behind a superficial smile. They effortlessly notice envy disguised as flattering praise. And they definitely sense an impending emotional storm behind a seemingly innocent, "I'm fine." This profound understanding transforms a person, sometimes to such an extent that they lose the ability to engage in superficial conversations. They crave genuine depth, constantly yearning for truth. And any petty masks, any falsehood, cause their soul a sharp internal rejection. Others may describe them as too intense or even excessive, but in reality this is merely a manifestation of their energetic sincerity, which is a great rarity. In a world where everyone tries to utter only socially acceptable phrases, such an individual can sense and express the true essence. Therefore, it is crucial to trust this unique awareness and honor such intuition, for while most people only listen to surface voices, they are tuned into the hidden, deeper frequencies beneath them, and in this special space, they don't just read others, but understand their essence, often more deeply than others can comprehend themselves. Chapter 7. Small talk has a deeply draining effect on them. They politely smile, nod at appropriate moments, and sometimes even insert a stock phrase like, "Well, lovely weather today, isn't it?" However, deep inside they feel completely depleted. This doesn't stem from shyness, nor is it because they are antisocial. The reason lies in the fact that every meaningless, empty word seems to drain a piece of their vital energy and soul. Conversations concerning office gossip, discussions about celebrity lives, or feigned interest in someone's cat's morning adventures, such topics physically exhaust the person, because their spirit, by its very nature, is not designed to participate in such superficial and vacuous dialogues. A person's energetic field relentlessly craves authentic substance. They don't seek discussions about superficial aspects of personalities. Instead, they are drawn to dialogue with individuals about their innermost dreams, profound experiences, life goals, and hidden fears. They are interested in what deprives others of their nightly rest, what ignites their inner fire, and what aspects of themselves they have chosen to conceal from the outside world. They crave authenticity. Truth is essential to them, for their very existence demands a mutual, sincere presence from their interlocutor. In an era where the world abounds with automated, soulless contacts, this person seems to have been born to feel deeply, forge true connections, and awaken consciousness. This is precisely why small talk is perceived by them as unwelcome interference on their own frequency of perception. Such conversations don't merely bore them, they are suffocating, robbing them of the ability to breathe freely. They begin to feel physically detached and emotionally numb as their internal system registers such interactions as useless, distracting noise, when their true purpose lies in detecting and tuning into a clear, meaningful signal. They do not seek dialogues that merely skim the surface of existence. They are drawn to conversations that penetrate deep into the heart, touch upon hidden pain, and expose truth, for it is in such moments that their energy flows freely, without hindrance. Only under these conditions does their aura not constrict, but rather expand, filling the space. Undoubtedly, this characteristic makes them unlike many others. Not everyone can grasp their uniqueness. Some might describe them as too intense, overly serious, or even difficult to communicate with. However, those truly awakened to consciousness perceive genuine magic in their depth. They are irresistibly drawn to something sincere and unfeigned, and when they find kindred spirits who can communicate in a shared, unspoken yet understood language, any conversation with them feels like coming home to a cozy and safe haven. Thus, no, such a person is not antisocial. They simply possess a profound intolerance for falsehood. This individual was not created to dissolve into the stream of ordinary noise. On the contrary, they were called to become a pure echo of truth in a world desperately yearning for genuine meaning. Chapter 8. People often project their inner darkness onto these individuals. Their light is neither glaring nor intrusive. They do not walk around seeking to prove anything or assert their importance. However, when they enter a room, something subtly shifts. This applies not only to the general atmosphere but also to those present, their tone, their energy field, their demeanor. Sometimes these changes happen instantly, leaving these individuals deeply bewildered, asking themselves, "What could I have done wrong?" The true underlying reason is simple. Nothing blameworthy was done. They caused no harm and showed no disrespect. However, their very presence disrupted the veil that others had meticulously tried to maintain. For when the inner light of such a person shines with genuine clarity, it inevitably disturbs the darkness that those around them sought to ignore. Not everyone is ready to look at their own unhealed wounds. Not everyone wishes to confront their own lies and self-deception. In this context, such individuals become a kind of mirror before which these shadows and hidden aspects become unavoidable and impossible to evade. What then do those around them do? Some begin to pour out sudden aversion, display subtle envy, or sink into icy silence. They may distort these individuals' words, question their sincere intentions, ridicule their inner spirit. And this happens not because these individuals are truly like that, but because they inadvertently embody something deeply unsettling. They are the living embodiment of truth. They challenge the accepted game. They shatter fragile illusions. They carry an energy that cannot be manipulated, and it is this circumstance that instills fear in those around them. They do not participate in backroom games. They do not wear masks of hypocrisy. They do not pretend. And such uncompromising authenticity makes those accustomed to deceit and pretense feel deeply awkward and uncomfortable. When people encounter such an individual, they often feel as if they are laid bare, their inner world exposed. In the eyes of this person, others sometimes discover echoes of everything that has been deeply buried within their own soul. In their presence, they begin to experience all those feelings and emotions that have been so long restrained and suppressed. Thus, this person, without the slightest effort on their part, can provoke a true inner storm within others. This is why many prefer to distance themselves, stepping aside. Or, far more disturbingly, they may approach, cloaked in a facade of feigned admiration, only to soon turn it into open indignation when they realize that this person will not diminish their essence or conform to their expectations for their comfort. However, one should not allow these circumstances to alter their inner core. One should not question their own worth or dignity merely because someone else proved unable to accept their own authentic self. This person is not burdened with responsibility for others' projections or the internal conflicts that arise in other people. Their sole true responsibility is to maintain integrity and remain in full harmony with their inner truth. It is important to remember the immutable truth. The more intensely a flame shines, the more contrasting and sharper the shadows it casts. And such a person was never meant to dim or extinguish their light merely for others to feel comfortable in the grip of their own darkness. Their purpose is to awaken them from slumber to prompt awareness, and sometimes this awakening means that they will hastily flee from them before they can find their own strength and rise. Let them be allowed to run. For this person is not here to gain universal approval or to please everyone. Their true purpose is to be authentic, to remain true to their essence. Chapter 9. This person's silence is far more resonant than the world's noise. They do not raise their voice, interrupt others, or seek to dominate the space around them. The reason for this is their profound understanding of a deep truth, inaccessible to most. Silence holds incredible power, and their stillness can thunder like a storm. They have no need to fight for the right to be heard, for there is no necessity. They do not implore for understanding, for they have already found harmony within themselves. While the rest of the world constantly rushes in pursuit of attention, fervent applause and universal approval, this person remains unperturbed, steady, fully immersed in the present moment, and absolutely unshakable. Such silence expresses far more than 1,000 uttered phrases. It carries a message. I am not here to perform. I do not need to validate my own significance. I listen, I observe, and I see absolutely everything. And this circumstance makes those around them uneasy, as most people resort to speech to mask their inner fears. They start talking louder when they feel insecure. They fill the space with noise, for silence mercilessly exposes their true state. However, this person has achieved harmony with silence. They are the embodiment of stillness itself. Their calmness is by no means passive. It is dynamic. It possesses colossal power. It counteracts. It challenges norms. It exposes what is hidden. It forces everyone to confront their internal contradictions. Those around them may interpret their silence as a manifestation of arrogance or deem them aloof, withdrawn, indifferent. However, in reality, they are simply tuned to an entirely different frequency. This is a frequency that does not require external noise to manifest its power. Their aura has already communicated much. Their energy has already permeated the space. Their presence has already transformed the surrounding atmosphere. They have no need to interrupt anyone's speech, for while others strive to be the loudest voice, they already achieve the status of the deepest presence. Therefore, it is necessary to maintain composure, driven not by fear, but by genuine mastery. For when their silence carries truth, even the most talkative crowd eventually falls silent. Chapter 10. Such a person instantly attracts the genuine and decisively repels the false. When it comes to them, there is no middle ground. People are either drawn to this person or they hastily distance themselves. They either feel an irresistible magnetic pull to their energy or they avoid them, much like they have avoided their own reflection for years. And what is most remarkable, this person doesn't even try. They don't put on a show. They don't beg for recognition or affection. They don't change shape to fit others' expectations. They simply exist as their untamed, rooted, unadulterated self. And in doing so, their energy naturally becomes a kind of filter. Some people, upon meeting them, will feel seen not for who they pretend to be, but for who they truly are. They will feel safe, accepted, understood, perhaps for the first time in their lives, for this person's presence does not judge. It invites, it reveals. It seems to say, come as you truly are, not as you are expected to be. Some individuals, on the other hand, may feel exposed, embarrassed, or even wounded. This is because this person's gaze penetrates through superficial layers, revealing a part of their essence that they have carefully guarded from outsiders their entire lives. This person does not tolerate the language of pretense or deception. Consequently, when others approach them, cloaked in masks, resorting to tricks or manipulations, their inner aura silently but firmly expresses rejection. This reaction is not a loud protest or aggressive repulsion, it merely signifies a fundamental misalignment of energies. Since energy is always truthful and sincere, even if those around them do not realize the specific reasons for their discomfort near such an individual, their subconscious or soul undoubtedly feels it. This person is incapable of tolerating falsehood. They naturally repel everything that is not in harmony, and conversely, attract what is authentic and true. Their energy field seems to proclaim, only the real belong here. This quality does not stem from supposed superiority or emotional detachment. Its roots lie in the diligent and painstaking work this person has done to secure and protect their inner peace. There is simply no room left in their soul for anything that could threaten this hard-won harmony. Such a characteristic is their true gift, their inner, infallible compass, and an invisible yet powerful shield. This internal mechanism reliably protects them from potential betrayal and saves them from wasted time and effort. It is capable of attracting rare, authentic souls ready to meet them at their own depth of understanding and perception, while simultaneously filtering out all the superficial noise that was never worthy of their inner light and attention. Thus, if some people begin to distance themselves from such an individual without obvious, visible reasons, it should be accepted as a given. This is by no means a manifestation of rejection or personal dislike. On the contrary, it is a natural process of resonance that simply performs its inherent function. For this person's purpose is not to please absolutely everyone around them. Their true goal is to be found by those who are authentic and sincere. Chapter 11. They possess the stillness of a true warrior. They have no need to boast of their achievements. They do not need to display their power. There is no need for fervent declarations or inflated self-importance. For the very way they exist in silence speaks more convincingly than the loud pronouncements of many. Their tranquility is not a sign of inaction or passivity. It is not the serenity characteristic of one who has never faced difficulties and hardships. On the contrary, it is the composure of a person who has endured unimaginable trials, walked through true hell, and not only survived but was transformed. They have faced storms capable of breaking their spirit. They have passed through periods so dark that their own breath echoed like thunder in a deafening void. They remained alone with their deepest fears and doubts, not to flee or fight, but for profound understanding. This is why their energy seems so rooted and grounded, and their presence can both pacify and stir a space depending on who observes them. They have no need to confirm their strength. They are strong because they courageously confronted the most intimate aspects of their being and did not waver. They have mastered the art of inner battle. They have experienced mental, emotional, and spiritual rebirth, as if they died and were reborn. And now their serenity has become a source of power. Those around them feel this energy. Many are filled with deep reverence. They notice the silent depth in their gaze and conclude, this individual has been through a lot. They feel protected in their presence. They listen to every word when they speak, for their statements hold significance and weight. Many are afraid of such a phenomenon, as their experience is limited to encountering power manifested in loud declarations and external force, rather than power that breathes quietly and steadily. They find it difficult to comprehend how such a still figure can possess such colossal inner strength, or how such a gentle person can remain absolutely unshakable in the face of any challenge. However, no one, absolutely no one, can forget this unique trait, for the stillness of a true warrior is by no means an ordinary phenomenon. It is not an innate quality, but is achieved through hard work and countless trials, and then radiates with an authenticity that the surrounding world cannot distort or imitate. Therefore, one should not mistakenly take such a person's gentleness for a sign of weakness. On the contrary, their restraint is undeniable power. Their stillness is a carefully considered strategy, and their inner peace is nothing less than the culmination of every battle they have ever faced and emerged victorious from, even if no one ever knew about it. They do not require a material sword. They themselves are a perfect weapon, whose edges have been sharpened by pain, polished by deep wisdom, and set in motion by unshakable truth. And their stillness is not merely the absence of external struggle, it is the clear presence of one who thoroughly knows their true essence and no longer needs conflicts to prove it to the world. Chapter 12. Such individuals possess an astonishing ability to heal others without any conscious effort. They do not need to utter perfectly calibrated words, hold academic degrees, professional labels, or an official therapist's license. The reason for this is simple. When others are in their presence, they instantly feel relief, find inner peace, feel seen and fully accepted, and allow themselves to be the true versions of themselves. The most striking aspect of this process is that these individuals don't even set out to heal. All the work is done by their own unique energy. It creates an invisible yet tangible space that silently proclaims, "There's no need to pretend here. You can breathe now. You are safe." Many individuals wander through life carrying invisible wounds, their hearts overflowing with unspoken experiences, and their smiles serving as a cover for inner battles they fear losing. However, when these people find themselves in their presence, something within them inexplicably loosens. Protective masks begin to crack, erected walls gradually crumble, and for the first time in a long while, they feel the possibility of simply being themselves without pretense. This quality is precisely what acts as a healing balm. Its power lies not in the words spoken, but in what the person radiates: serene stillness and profound insight. It is that very frequency of truth that penetrates into people's souls where ordinary words could never reach. However, there is another aspect that gives this ability even greater power. The energy of such a person not only soothes but also awakens. They offer people a sense of safety, yes, but simultaneously allow them to feel truly seen, acknowledged. And when an individual truly feels seen, their illusory beliefs begin to irreversibly crumble. Their lies can no longer exist, and unhealed deep stories begin to noticeably waver, coming to the surface. This can be an extremely frightening experience for them. For although healing occurs effortlessly on the part of this person, they also unconsciously pose a challenge. They stimulate deep reflection, bringing hidden truths to light They inspire others to shed all pretense, even if they are not yet fully ready to face what lies beneath it. Some, of course, will express their gratitude for this experience. Others, conversely, will prefer to distance themselves, withdrawing from such a powerful influence. But one thing remains constant. None of them will remain the same, for true healing is not always perceived as something soft and comfortable. Sometimes it feels like a painful splitting or breaking of old structures. And yet, the presence of such a person can accomplish this process, profound and transformative, with surprising gentleness. Thus, one should not underestimate the unique gift possessed by such an individual. They were not born to fix others or eliminate their shortcomings. The true purpose of such a person is to subtly remind those around them of the inner power that slumbers within each of them. The very essence of this individual, their authentic presence, serves as a catalyst, awakening in people the remembrance of their true nature. Such an impact is perhaps the rarest and deepest kind of healing. Chapter 13. Such an individual was born to challenge all that is performative and inauthentic. Throughout their life, they likely felt an inexplicable tension in spaces where an atmosphere of pretense prevailed, places filled with fake smiles, strained and meaningless conversations, and superficial, depthless relationships. And deep in their soul, this individual always knew that their place was not among this imitation. This feeling arose not from their own imperfections or flaws, but because they were never meant to blend into the general crowd. Their arrival in the world was predicated on the necessity to stand out, while remaining consistently true to their own deep truth. Such a person was not created to be polite or obliging in the presence of blatant falsehood. They were not destined to shrink or diminish themselves simply to ensure the comfort of others. On the contrary, their coming into this world had a different, far more significant purpose: to awaken people from their slumber, to shake the foundations of systems built on the shaky ground of illusions, and to call the human soul back to its authentic essence, to its true home. And this mission must be fulfilled, even if it requires becoming a powerful, unprecedented storm capable of changing the familiar landscape. The aura of such a person doesn't just radiate light, it actively creates dissonance. Penetrating the space barely noticeably, it nevertheless can completely reformat its energetic frequency. This effect is achieved not by a desire for drama or flamboyant eccentricity, but solely because their very true essence by its existence exposes any insincerity and pretense. This is why the reactions of those around them to such an individual are so polarized. Some are instantly drawn to them with sympathy and affection, while others experience an inexplicable, sometimes irrational, aversion. The reason lies in the fact that this person's energy poses a direct threat to everything built on artificial games and false roles. Their presence inevitably stirs what has long been dormant, awakening hidden truths. This individual does not allow lies to exist freely or masks to sit comfortably on faces. Remarkably, they don't even need to actively expose deception. Simply being, existing in their authenticity, is enough for any untruth to feel seen, revealed, and extremely unstable. This happens because such a person embodies something truly rare, wild, and absolutely real. And authenticity, as is known, holds danger. It is fraught with threats to comfort zones, to established conformity, and to anyone who prefers to hide from their own reflection, avoiding a meeting with themselves. Such people are not born to remain neutral or unnoticed. Their purpose is to be catalysts for transformation and profound change. However, true transformation does not arise from silence or superficial small talk. It originates and manifests through the disruption of established norms, through active, living energy that flatly refuses to pretend to be lifeless or passive. Therefore, one should not dull their sharp edges of individuality. They should not soften their inner fervor. For such a person is here to destabilize what is hypocritical and false, not to agree with it. Every time the authentic aura of such a person comes into contact with deceit and illusions, truth invariably prevails, And the modern world desperately needs precisely this authenticity, this bold self-expression. If this message has resonated deeply within your soul, you should realize it was not ordinary informational material. It was a kind of mirror intended for you to look into and see yourself. Such people have always felt different, perhaps too deep, overly emotional, too authentic for a world dominated by superficial masks and pretense. However, this is not a flaw or a defect. On the contrary, it is their true purpose. These individuals were not born to blend into a faceless mass or merge with the general crowd. They were not created to serve as unnoticed background noise. Instead, their appearance in the world was intended to radiate their light, awaken consciousness, stir minds, and shake dormant aspects of reality. And in doing so, they are meant to prompt the entire global community to face the truths it has stubbornly evaded. Therefore, such people should stop apologizing for their distinctive presence. They should no longer adjust their authentic truth to suit the convenience of others. Let others observe, let them whisper, let them misinterpret. That is not their burden or their load. On the contrary, it is their own awakening. But let such individuals promise themselves one thing: never, under any circumstances, should they diminish their inner light to protect someone else's personal shadows or fears. For their energy was never meant to be hidden, it was destined to be felt, in all its loudness, wildness, and authenticity.